everybody talks about the domino effect of everybody waiting for, say, a Point or Marner to sign, and it's going to affect the whole market. Do you see it that way? Do you see if Point signs right now or Marner, will it affect other players in the league?
It definitely will affect the other forwards. I think the fact that Mitch Marner isn't signed is probably the reason Mikko Rantanen isn't signed in Colorado at this point. I mean, Mikko has very favorable comparisons to Marner in terms of the numbers he's put up. And, the one thing Marner has going for him, of course, is he's trying to leverage the fact that Austin Matthews got a contract over $11 million out of his entry-level deal and is looking to get as close to that as he can possibly get. If that happens, I think it gives Rantanen, a really strong comparable to get more than what Colorado's looking for. So, I think in certain instances here, guys are tied together. I would say even now that the Werenski deal is done, the odds of Charlie McAvoy signing in Boston, Brandon Carlo's also up there. You have Ivan Provorov in Philadelphia. I think I wouldn't be surprised if you saw one or more of those players sign a 3-year deal that looks a little bit like Werenski's as a result. And so, I think at this point it's coming down to which players, view the start of camp as important or not. Obviously some guys I think do believe that that's important. Others think it's a bit of a false deadline, so to speak, a soft deadline, not one that requires them to maybe leave a little bit at the bargaining table to get a deal done. And so, if one of the really impact forwards goes, I think Point and Marner would be the top two. It'll certainly affect what, Kyle Connor and Laine Kachuk and that group get.
When looking at this Marner situation right now, it's dragging on. Looks like it's going to go into camp, into the start of the season. Who has the leverage? Because everybody kind of seems it's Marner with what Matthews signed for. He can hold out. I'm part of the belief the Leafs kind of are in control of the situation. Who do you think has the leverage?
I think it's the team. It's not even a comment on Mitch Marner, the player. It's the way the system's set up for Group 2 free agents. I mean, at this point, all he can do is sign an offer sheet, and he's been able to do that since July 1st. It hasn't happened, or withhold his services. And, as much as this is a big season for the Leafs, and obviously they'd miss him if he decided not to play or to go to Europe or some of the things floating around, they have the power here. And, I think that they recognize it. I mean, the minute they went out and traded for David Clarkson's contract, it's given them the ability as well, if this goes into the season, to match an offer sheet should it come at that point. And so I think the Leafs have covered their bases. Don't get me wrong, Mitch Marner's, no matter what this contract looks like, I think we're all going to look at it and say, it's a life-altering amount of money. He's loved. But, I don't see where he really benefits by trying to go the William Nylander route. In fact, I think that could have some negative consequences for him that aren't productive. And I also think it's going to be harder for him than it was for William Nylander to, wait this out just because he lives in the city. His parents live here. His family and friends are here. I think it was a different situation for Nylander being, over in Europe and being able to insulate himself a little bit from all the attention that his absence caused. And so, unless he gets an offer sheet at some point that rearranges the market, that comes in at a dollar figure the Leafs aren't willing to go to, I think he's probably in a position like most RFAs where just has to make the best deal he can with the team and get back to playing and really hit a monster home run on the next deal when he's got some unrestricted free agent years as part of it.
With Chris Johnston. But is it not, Chris, important that the Maple Leafs set this up? I know you say it's life-altering money. None of us denies that truth. But is it not important, at least from an optics point of view, that Marner come out of this situation looking good when you see that Austin Matthews got a favorable term and dollar figure? When you see what they gave John Tavares, different story, unrestricted free agency, but just the chemistry that he had with Marner in their first year playing together, and then the fact that Nylander sat, and the number kept going up. Like Marner has to come out of this looking good because he's looking around at the three other best players on this team or best forwards on this team and seeing that they got theirs. He can't be the one getting squeezed here or being perceived to being squeezed here.
Well, I think the way he looks good is coming back and playing and continuing to be a star, myself. it's not. I'm not saying he has to take a discount. I don't believe, in fact, that they're at discount prices at this point. I mean, from my understanding of where the numbers have been, I'd say the Leafs are probably in the range of resetting the market for a player like Mitch based on his production and where the league's gone. And that's fair. I mean, look at this other guys off their entry-level deals have done just that. But, he doesn't have the case to argue for Austin Matthews' money. Goals are what get forwards in particular paid in this league. Austin has the most 5-on-5 goals since he entered the league. He has the best rates of scoring. I think that because he's a center, he had more leverage to get the kind of deal that he got. It's not I realize there's a debate. Probably there'll be an ongoing debate, as long as these guys are in the league, about which one is better or more valuable. But, when it comes to the bargaining table, I just don't see Mitch having the same credentials to argue for that kind of money. And honestly, I don't know that the league does because, as I say, these teams could have signed him for the last 2+ months to that exact contract. If the Montreal Canadiens or the Columbus Blue Jackets or the New Jersey Devils or any of the teams that had some cap space and arguably some desire to at least explore the market for an offer sheet, they could have given him Austin Matthews' deal. And they didn't. And I think that that's why the Leafs have some leverage because they came through that window where teams could have done that and it didn't happen. And so if you're on Marner's side at this point in time and you're not getting an offer sheet and you don't want to play for what the Leafs are offering, you have to sit. And I think that's a really difficult thing to do.